Hello, and welcome to episode 152 of Tall Guy Talks Travel with Rick Doherty, the last episode of the show for 2023. Of course, I am your host, Rick Doherty. My good friend Marisa from Chicago will be back on the podcast today, so the two of us can look forward to what we can expect from Walt Disney World in 2024, and one thing happening on the West Coast as well. Let's just get right to it this week. Thanks for being here, Marisa.
I am happy to be back. Thanks for having me.
So as we wind down 2023, I can't believe we are in the last few days of 2023, and it is time to start looking towards the new year, 2024. I can't believe that we are almost in 2024. It is incredible to say the least, but we're going to look at what is going to be coming to Walt Disney World or returning to Walt Disney World in 2024 and talk about how excited we are for some of the things. And there are some things that are going to kind of tee us off a little bit. So this should be a fun conversation. The biggest deal, and this keeps happening periodically, chunk by chunk, but Epcot is opening up again in the middle of what used to be called Future World. The construction walls are starting to come down with attractions like Moana's Journey of Water, and it's so exciting that this never-ending construction, we can actually start to see that light at the end of the tunnel.
I can't wait. It's like a whole new Epcot. I mean, I know that's the point, but really, when those walls start coming down, navigation starts opening up again, it just feels so different.
The other day I was talking to my wife, Courtney, and I was saying how we moved to Florida in 2019, and we actually lived here with open Epcot, with Epcot the way it was for all those years before the construction walls. But it doesn't feel like that. It feels like the entire time we have lived here, Epcot has been under construction. It's not true, but man, it certainly does feel that way. And this is such a great thing. First of all, Moana's Journey of Water, huge addition, amazing addition to the park. I love it at night. That is really the best time to see it, get all the pictures you want. But even during the day, like we've said, opening up that middle of the park to traffic, putting in an attraction that isn't a ride. You can walk through it at your own pace. You can play with the water features, and it brings not only a guest flow, but an airflow. Having the air go through that water before it hits you cools down the center of Epcot by 15 degrees. At least that's how it feels to me.
It makes a huge difference that, like, you really don't realize until you're there. And, aside from all that, it is just a great addition, especially for kids. They are so excited to be walking through and interacting with everything. And it is just such a great example of edutainment and how we can update edutainment to really appeal to this next generation of kids. And I think that's just a great callback to the purpose of Epcot.
Now, this is something that is very, very popular for most people. The only thing is, the people who have been complaining about it the most are not affected by this change. And that is Park Pass reservations for most guests are going to be disappearing on January 9th of 2024, a little over a week from now. The problem is, for people like Marisa and myself, it does not affect annual pass holders. So we are still going to have to make those Park Pass reservations for the foreseeable future. Honestly, at this point, it is just to control the odd busy day as far as I'm concerned. There's no other reason. And as much as I was kind of a fan of the Park Pass reservation system, at least more than most people, it's starting to get a little ridiculous where, for example, the 100th anniversary of the Disney company, I couldn't go to Magic Kingdom or Epcot because those were blocked that day. I could only go to Animal Kingdom, but I could hop after 2 o'clock in the afternoon over to either one of them. So it's starting to feel like this is something that, while useful for a time, has kind of passed its usefulness.
Yeah, it's starting to feel like the formality, which, you know, if that's what it is, own up to it. It's not controlling crowds at this point, you know, and especially next week once the reservations drop for everyone else. It just feels kind of silly to still be doing it.
I feel like instead of trying to control crowds, they're now using it to manipulate crowds. So
Yes.
I get 4 park pass reservations at a time, but I might sign on to my Disney experience tomorrow, and they're like, hey, if you want to go on Wednesday, we're going to give you a free park pass reservation to Animal Kingdom, because they're seeing that nobody's going to Animal Kingdom that day, or they want to push crowds to different parks. Maybe it's a Monday and they know everybody goes to Magic Kingdom on Monday. So they'll give you that park pass reservation for Epcot for free, so that they hope that you don't try to go over to Magic Kingdom. It's literally the only reason I can still think they justify doing this. Now, there are your big days, May the 4th, potentially the birthday on October 1st, but I went this past year. I was able to get a reservation for all 4 parks for October 1st the day before. So it wasn't even for the birthday anymore. Obviously, Christmas, obviously, Thanksgiving. These are days that they do have to try to figure out stuff. I'm sure New Year's Eve is another big day, but we're talking at this point a handful of days that are a problem. And this is definitely more for trying to alter your behavior than it is because they're trying to figure out where crowds are going to be any given day.
Yeah, and it also feels extra silly, I think, once the park hopper rules change.
Which is the exact same day.
Yeah.
So January
So
9th, you don't have to wait until 2 o'clock in the afternoon anymore to park hop. So yes, if you're wondering, at least this is how it looks right now. If you can only get an Animal Kingdom Park Pass reservation and you want to go to Magic Kingdom, you have to drive over to Animal Kingdom or take the bus and scan into the park, and then turn around and get back on the bus or get back in your car and head over to Magic Kingdom. And it is just a colossal pain. And I don't know why they're doing this, but they're sticking to their guns on those park pass reservations for pass holders.
they said we built this system and it took us a lot of time and money to put into this technology, so we're keeping it.
Now, the park hop rules disappearing, I am happy about that. Initially, I wasn't bothered by it that much, but I did find that there are things that happen at the parks that only happen in the morning and the early afternoon. So by the time you got the chance to park hop to a park at 2 o'clock, maybe there were certain characters who were no longer meeting, or some of the shows that would happen, it would be hard to get different show times. Now, I wouldn't mind getting to Animal Kingdom at rope drop at 8 o'clock in the morning and then hopping over to another park at 10 o'clock, going to Epcot at 10:30 when the booths in Food and Wine or Festival of the Arts or whatever festival is happening at the time are opening at 11, and that seems more realistic than waiting all the way until 2 o'clock.
Yeah, 2 p.m. always felt almost needlessly restrictive. I think even if it had been noon, that would have had a whole different feeling to it. And it's not that much time, but like psychologically, it feels different. Personally, I'm just really excited to be able to like rope drop Magic Kingdom and get a couple things done. And then when the crowds really start rolling in at like 10, be able to say, all right, I'm out. I'm headed to Hollywood Studios or Epcot or Animal, wherever I want to go, where it's not going to be quite so crazy.
And you want to know another area where this is going to be really important? And I don't think a lot of people are thinking about this, but I'm going to give the example of my last birthday. And we wanted to basically rope drop Magic Kingdom, but we were going to end the day at Hollywood Studios. So we wanted our car in Hollywood Studios. So what we had to do, park at Hollywood Studios, get on the Skyliner, take the Skyliner to Caribbean Beach, take the bus from Caribbean Beach to Magic Kingdom. Now, because there aren't park hopper rules anymore, we can just park at Hollywood Studios and head right over to the bus, because there will be buses running between the parks all day now. And that is huge, especially for Animal Kingdom and Hollywood Studios.
Yeah, that does make a huge difference. And, that's one I don't think about as much because I'm a vacationer, so I don't have a car. But that's going to make so many people's lives so much easier.
I am ashamed to admit sometimes when I have a very busy day in the parks, how much of my time is just spent figuring out how I'm going to get from one place to the other, because it's not getting from one place to the other that's the problem. The problem is getting back to your car at the end of the night, because you can't park at Epcot and then walk through Epcot, go to Hollywood Studios the back way, and then come back after Epcot is closed at night, because you can't go back through Epcot to get to the parking lot. Like, there are so many needlessly difficult aspects of Disney transportation, and the fact that they would not run buses in between the parks until 2 o'clock, and I don't think they started until like 1:30. Like, you weren't able to get from Magic Kingdom to Hollywood Studios and get there at all early. Like, you were still getting there right at 2 with the chance to go into the new park. And this will be nice to add that extra layer of transportation back into the fold. And now we are going to move over to something that is returning. It actually never went away, but for the holiday seasons, they had special themed events. So you'd have Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party, Mickey's Very Merry Christmas, and then, of course, Jollywood Nights at Hollywood Studios. Check the Tall Guy Talks Travel with Rick Doherty YouTube channel to see a video from that this year. Definitely excited to share that one with you. But after hours events are returning, the normal ones, to Magic Kingdom, Epcot, and Hollywood Studios. Now, I have never done one of the Epcot after hours events, but they do seem cool. I think there's a DJ in what used to be Future World. I've heard people tell stories of like a dance party with Chip and Dale, and then Goofy and Pluto come out for a little bit. I don't exactly know how you can maximize Epcot when a lot of World Showcases shut down and there aren't a ton of rides in Epcot. But if you want to do Test Track with low weight, if you want to do Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind with a low weight, that definitely might be something that you want to look into for Epcot. I have done Hollywood Studios, and I personally enjoyed it. I did it with our mutual friend Jillian. Jillian did not think it was worth it for her. I thought it was worth it for me, but I don't travel as far to come to the parks as she travels. So I loved having areas of Galaxy's Edge that were almost empty and they had a ton of PhotoPass photographers on hand, so you could get some beautiful pics with lightsabers, and they had lightsabers available for you for pictures, and that was cool. I think we waited 15 minutes for Rise of the Resistance, or it was listed as 15 minutes, and it was basically a walk on there. We didn't end up getting on Slinky because it closed before the rest of the park. I didn't like that. Listen, these things are expensive, so whether they're worth it is very, very subjective. But I do think that with the minimal crowds and with the free snacks and sodas, you can make it worth it if you really work hard. I think Jillian's argument was that the amount of time that you have in the parks, if you're already a pass holder, it feels like you're paying for a lot of stuff for which you've already paid. But a vacationer or somebody who has their annual pass blocked out at that particular time, this can be a huge advantage. Getting over to Magic Kingdom, something they're doing special this year, and I like that they're doing it. I want to hear your opinions on this. They are not only going to show Happily Ever After, the Nighttime Spectacular, to everyone. So if you have a regular park ticket for the day, or if you have this special party park ticket, you can be there for Happily Ever After. But during the party, they're going to run Enchantment, the now defunct Nighttime Spectacular that ran in between showings of Happily Ever After. What do you think about this resurrecting old shows for after hours events?
I love it. I feel like if there's a space to do it, this is the space. This is the prime opportunity to say, "Hey, did you like this show? Do you miss it? All right, well buy a ticket and come see it." It's a great marketing tool from that aspect, but also just as a fan, it's so cool to be able to say I can see two Magic Kingdom fireworks shows that are both totally different in the same night. That's so exciting to me.
And with some of this projection technology, when we talk about the new technology for a lot of the rides, it also transforms into some of these shows. And if you have the ability to keep multiple shows around, to give us a variety, that's what Disney should be doing with the new technology. You don't have to just get rid of something and pretend it never existed. You can keep it around for special occasions. It'll be nice to see if they can bring some of the old shows back just every once in a while. That makes it special, that gives you an excuse to want to come to the after hours event. And here's another thing. One of the selling points of these after hours events is the low crowds. Now think about the low crowds combined with a nighttime spectacular on Main Street that's taking half the people away. Seven Dwarfs Mine Train is going to be a 10-minute wait. Maybe it's going to be a walk-on while this fireworks show is happening. And then you can see the fireworks from Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. This is going to make the after hours event at Magic Kingdom absolutely worth the price.
I agree. And I didn't even think about that with the rides. And now I'm conflicted thinking if I were to go, would I watch the show? Would I try to capitalize on that and get on like Big Thunder as a walk on? Oh man. Either way, it just seems like a great opportunity to get in some special extras at the park.
Enchantment was not my favorite nighttime spectacular. I thought it was okay. It didn't blow me away. I enjoyed it while I was watching it, and then I kind of forgot about it about 10 minutes later. Now, I had to wait 45 minutes on Main Street to have a good spot to see it. But now you won't have to do that. You'll be able to walk right up and get a great spot for the show. Frankly, that is a really, really good benefit to an after hours event. I hope they do something similar at Epcot and at Hollywood Studios. Give us something that we can't get normally. So we have to decide, do you want the 5-minute wait for Slinky Dog Dash? Or do you want this special projection show that we're going to do on the Chinese theater that's all about Pixar or whatever you want to do with it? I think this is a big step in the right direction for varieties in shows. This is popular for visitors. It really does not affect annual pass holders very much at all, and that is the Disney dining plan. It's coming back. It took a lot longer for this to come back than I thought. I know, as somebody who used to be a travel agent and hasn't been a travel agent in over a year and a half, I was being told when I was a travel agent, it's coming back soon. Don't worry, it's coming back soon. We'll get you. It's coming back soon. Well, here it is finally, knock on wood, coming back soon. And I know a lot of families really use this as their opportunity to go when they can get the dining plan. If they ever do free dining, they really jump on that. I just ask that you really look at how much you would be spending for your room without free dining compared to how much you're spending with free dining, and understand that not everybody wants to be sitting in restaurants the entire time they are in these theme parks. So maybe get the lower dining plan than you think you might need. But besides that, this has to be making a lot of people really happy.
Yeah, this is definitely something that people have been clamoring for. That, it's one of the most asked questions I see about Disney is, when is the dining plan coming back? And yeah, like you, I was definitely speculating it would come back much earlier than it is. And I'm kind of surprised it's taking them this long. But, this is definitely something that is going to make a lot of people very happy. It's not going to change the way a lot of people travel and do their trips, myself included. But I do feel like it's definitely something where, if you're considering it, plan out your meals, look at the menus, look at what you'd be getting, calculate all those costs, get yourself a nice little spreadsheet going, and see if the dining plan is actually worth it for you. Because I know a lot of people who have gotten the dining plan and have been walking away, losing money on their last day, running into the confectionery going, I have all these snack credits to use, and now I'm getting, a bag of gummy worms with them.
A $7 bag of pretzels with Chippendale on them that would have cost them $1.50 at a gas station, right? And that's fine. I would be the kind of person who would make sure I got my money's worth out of something like this. The only problem is then my whole vacation would become about eating. Like, I would make sure I'd get my money's worth out of it, but I'd be going to sit down restaurants all the time and spending an hour and a half, 2 hours at Beer Garden when I could be walking around having festival food and riding rides at the same time. So you just have to consider whether it is worth it for you. Something that Marissa and I both thought was no longer worth it for us. And we were like, you know what? We're done. We are done with Run Disney. We have done it the past few years. I think both of us, our first Run Disney experience was like a week and a half, 2 weeks before the pandemic closures in Princess Half Marathon Weekend 2020. I did the half marathon. You did the 10K.
I did the 10K.
And we got the bug. Well, not that bug. We got the Run Disney bug. We got hooked. And we have now done multiple of these races. And both of us were finally like, I'm done. After Springtime Surprise earlier this year, when I did the Toy Story 10 miler, and I was supposed to meet you in Hollywood Studios, and I was just texting you like, yeah, it ain't happening. I had to get a cart back from the finish line to my car. And you coming down on vacation, you're like, well, I want to enjoy the parks the way that I used to enjoy the parks. And we thought, okay, Run Disney's not our thing anymore. And then they announced a Halloween race coming to Disneyland in 2024. And I think we are both starting to wonder if that would be worth it.
Yep, it was definitely one of those things where, physically, the Run Disney races, in order to be able to do them, I had to plan my trips and adjust my trips in such a specific way, not only just like the early bedtimes, but for my own body to be able to handle these races, in the aftermath of them because they're rough on me. It was kind of impacting my whole trip, and I was like, I really miss the open to close trips. I really miss being able to, enjoy things a little more freely or, maybe not be in pain. All those the little things. Well, I was really feeling good about it. My friends were signing up for it and, we were talking about it and like, I don't feel like I'm missing out on anything. And then they just had to go and announce Halloween at Disneyland. And I'm eating my words because Disney just has that ability. It's like they know. They somehow
They
know what's
absolutely
going to pull
know,
you back.
Marissa. They absolutely know. Now, I'm going to play the good angel on your shoulder here. This is going to be very popular the first year. Do you think if we skip it this first year and then try for the second year, that maybe that's going to be a little easier? Maybe we can get Oogie Boogie Bash tickets and get a spot running one of the races, where the first year, everybody, it's the cool new thing, FOMO, all of that stuff. But maybe year number 2, it might be a little easier to get into that race. And let's be honest, both of us kind of need to get back into the conditioning for trying to run one of these things.
Yeah, I mean, I know at this point for me personally, I think a 5K is my limit regardless. I don't think there's any way I'm going back to the longer races just based on myself right now. But that is a good point. On the flip side, then we have to watch all our friends having fun in Disneyland.
But we have to do that anyway. Like, that's
That's
gonna
true.
happen no matter what.
That's true.
I hear what you're saying. Listen, Devil Rick will be on my other shoulder just as much as Angel Rick. I was just throwing something out there. Here's something that made me mad. It made you mad. So we'll end on a little bit of a controversy here today and let everybody hear us rant at the end. This is 100% unacceptable, and I am sometimes accused of being too pro Disney and too pixie dust and all that stuff. Run Disney has discontinued the free park tickets for Run Disney volunteers, at least at Walt Disney World. I don't know what the situation is at Disneyland, but tickets are much harder to get a hold of for Disneyland anyway, so I can't imagine it's any better over there. This is 100% unacceptable. The people who volunteer for these races are amazing. Like, we talk about cast members and how we love cast members, and we do. We love them. Cast members are getting paid. So even when a cast member gets yelled at, it is completely unacceptable. I am not condoning it, but they're getting a paycheck. Some of them are getting health insurance. Like, when these volunteers get up at God knows what time to try to work on these races, and they are literally there, some of them, for the health of the people running your races. Springtime surprise, when it was so hot, when it was so muggy, and people were collapsing on the race course, and the people who were responsible, who said, I'll give up my own free time to try to help, and Disney won't even let them go into a freaking theme park for free when Animal Kingdom is begging people to go there. And you know what? You go to Animal Kingdom and then you're going to get something at Yak and Yeti and you're going to get something at Flame Tree Barbecue. And this is the most short-sighted, arrogant, like, of all the money-saving things, and charging for parking at the resorts, which they have now changed. But all those things. And we were pretty forgiving of most of them. This one is a step too far for me.
No, it is. Like you said, these are people who are dedicating their free time to help others. They are there so early. I mean, it feels early as a runner when you're rolling up at like 2:30 in the morning. They've already been there for hours. Like this is their whole day is being thrown off because they are taking time to make this race run. These races do not happen without the volunteers. You cannot have these races without volunteers manning medical tents, manning water stations, manning food stations, and honestly, cheering you along on the sidelines because that moral boost makes a huge difference.
And Disney, you're charging 200 some dollars for these races that you can do almost anywhere else for like 50 bucks and get the exact same experience. Yes, you don't get to go through the parks. Like, that is a cool perk. But here's the deal. You are getting free labor out of these people. You should be... Could you imagine if McDonald's was like able to pay their employees with chicken McNuggets, and all of a sudden they were like, we're not even going to give you the chicken McNuggets anymore. Like, it is absurd that they are getting free labor from somebody, and all they have to do is give them admission into a park that is already operating. You can control what days they can use that free ticket. It's not like they're going to be going on Christmas or Thanksgiving. You can say this ticket works in September. Like, you're begging for people to go to the parks and spend money, and then these people do all of this work for you. These are the people who love this company more than anybody if they're willing to do this. And then you're like, nah, fam, you got to pay $150 to go to Epcot. Ridiculous.
It's also just insane because, you let these people into a park for free. Okay, so you lose the ticket count. But you're really going to tell me that all these people are going to walk into the park for free and not purchase a single thing? Really? Come on. They're eating, they're drinking, they might be buying souvenirs. You're making money that otherwise you are not making.
Make the ticket for Epcot, and then they'll go around and they'll walk around the food booths and they'll drink around the world. It's idiotic. This is the most short-sighted decision, and Disney has made some short-sighted decisions, but this is a doozy because you're making hardcore fans who volunteer angry. You're making the hardcore fans who run the races and find out about this. Like, that was one of the reasons I didn't mind having them wake up that early. Like, I would feel guilty taking Powerade from them if I didn't think they were getting a free park ticket out of it. The medals cost them about $1.75, and they're charging you $200 for some of these races. Like, most of them. $200. There are thousands and thousands of people crammed into these corrals. This is ridiculous. This is a bad look.
Oh, it's just awful. It almost feels cruel. And like, I don't like saying that, but especially when it wasn't announced, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't believe it was announced during volunteer sign up. It was kind of a late in the game change.
At least that's when we heard about it. I don't know when the actual volunteers heard about it. I have a friend who volunteers for the Run Disney races, but she did not volunteer for that one.
Well, good call.
Definitely a good call. Disney, do better, man. Okay, Marissa, you don't need to do better. As always, you did a great job on the show today. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
This year has been filled with some of the highest ups in my life and some of the lowest lows. Way more highs than lows, however. But I definitely hope that all of our 2024s will be steadier and more level like the People Mover than bumpy and wild like Big Thunder Mountain Railroad. One of my proudest moments came back in late March when Aesthetic Puppet and I dropped off multiple carloads of basketballs, soccer balls, and volleyballs to the Boys and Girls Club of Central Florida. We raised over $1,300 and donated 160 some pieces of sports equipment. In June, we had Alicia Stella on the show, which was a big honor for me because I'm a fan of her work, especially her coverage of Epic Universe, and most importantly, because we could promote her fundraiser for the Trevor Project. My birthday just so happens to be the last day of June, and I spent the last hour and a half of my birthday refreshing Twitter to see if she would reach the astronomical goal of $25,000. When she reached it, I was so excited. We did some other small things and tried to make room for different types of voices on the channel. I'm so proud of what we have accomplished. 2024 is going to be even better. We will have a brand new episode of Tall Guy Talks Travel with Rick Doherty in a brand new year next Thursday. Until then, have a great week and take care of yourself with your New Year's celebrations.